Jocelyn Tidwell. That's our little, we'll have this available for you recording announcement. So yeah, I'm Jocelyn Tidwell. I just joined MarketLink in December as the regional specialist covering the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic regions, but I work a little bit with farmers all over, just depending. And just so you know who you're working with today, a little bit of background about me. I come up from agricultural education, a lot of agricultural education projects where I spent six seasons farming through different parts of, you can see Maine and Connecticut, a little bit in Maryland, which is where I'm based now. Yeah, doing that kind of work, doing small scale vegetable production and selling through a bunch of different methods like farm stands. I ran a CSA for a couple of years, done pop-up market kind of things. And that really led me, that was kind of the basis for how I got into food access work. And that's the work that I've been doing for the past 2 years, helping farmers create different food system solutions, work with different partnerships to just expand their reach among more customers, especially customers who want to use nutrition benefits forms of payments to buy from local farmers. So that's kind of a little bit of my background. I'm really glad that I can bring that into this position and keep working with farmers like yourself. So I want to dive right into the topic. For those who joined late, I already warned folks, get your chat open, find your reaction buttons down at the bottom of the screen, kind of next to that chat bump out. It's got like a little white heart. There'll be places for you to kind of put a thumbs up or give a little bit of feedback coming up really soon. So don't leave me hanging. But there's opportunities because I want to hear from you guys and understand where you're coming from and what you've already kind of thought through. You're already accomplished farmers and growers. You already have a lot of strategies for outreach and promotion. So this is just trying to deepen that, think a little bit more, think maybe in surprising ways or outside the box a little bit to kind of round things out for you. The first place that I want to start is just talking about, there's two different parts to this, and we're going to talk about both of them. But I want to start by just kind of dividing between, we think about marketing and outreach and all of this. There's one side of things, which is what you do when people have kind of already found your point of sale. They're already there in front of you. They've already come to you at the time and the place where you're ready to actually make a transaction and sell to them. So there is, a lot that you can do to use your point of sale to welcome and inform customers at the market. And how you give them, guidance and information. So is there anybody willing to either unmute or put in the chat any kind of information that you put out during a market time, during a farm stand, at a CSA pickup that helps orient your customers in any way? And while you guys are thinking about that, kind of putting your examples in there, I'll just describe kind of the opposite of that. No shade. I've definitely gone to like a pop-up market where there was an unmarked truck just on the side of the road, a bare table, no signage, just some vegetables on that table, no price signs, no kind of indication of how you could pay or anything. So that's kind of like the opposite of what I'm talking about, but I'm sure you guys have some different strategies. So if you want to put it in the chat, or if you want to just react, if you have price signs, if you show a map that lists the vendors, that's great. Yeah, that totally orients your customers. It lets them know. Any signs about where to enter, where to check out, kind of that flow sort of thing? Anybody do stuff like that? Thumbs up, reactions or anything? Okay, so we kind of thinking about where you're coming from there. I see another thumbs up on having a map that just lists the vendors. And then, oh yeah, signs and banners to mark the manager's tent. Another map, decorate the farm stand to feel welcoming. Artwork, I love that. Thinking about the aesthetics, not just kind of like the nuts and bolts, but flowers representing our backgrounds. I love that. Okay, those are really good ways to welcome. That's the welcome part, the inform part, the map, the kind of routes to follow. So yeah, and that's all once somebody has, done the magic to find you and be there and actually show up at the time, which is what we want people to do. Oh, I see a little bit more signage around town and the harbor where we set up and list the entire vendor products on a whiteboard at the entrance to the market. Perfect. So people can know what they can expect when they find it. And I love that nod to signage around town. That's actually what I want to talk about next. So we've got the at the market, at the point of sale, at the farm stand, at the CSA pickup, wherever you're trying to sell. And then there's all this outside the market, reaching those who haven't already found you. You know, all that point of sale stuff that we talked about is really kind of preaching to the choir. It's orienting folks who are already ready to be your customers. But I do want to take a little bit of time to think about those outside the point of sale strategies, like you were just alluding to with like putting some signage around town or around the place where you set up. That's what we're going to head into next. Um, so I'll do a little bit, keep this flowing, keep these reactions. So I want to do a little exercise to get the juices flowing before we just go into big lists and lots of information. So kind of take this map as that representation. You're kind of giving yourself a bird's eye view of your point of sale, your farm stand, your CSA pickup, a farmer's market, wherever the customers need to come to interact and buy or pick up products. And then just think about the surrounding area kind of as the crow flies. Put yourself at that aerial view. And if you're in a more densely populated area like a city, you might just be looking at a few blocks around that point, kind of something walkable or something that people could easily kind of feel part of that neighborhood or that area. If you're in a rural area, you know, your bird's eye view might stretch a little bit further. You might be looking at several miles in each direction too, maybe where you hit a town or a crossroads. It's really important for some reason, you know, somewhere there. And as you're kind of thinking about that bird's eye view, you can even pull up, you know, Google or think about what you see when you drive around. Where do you see businesses, services, places where the shoppers that you want to reach, especially if you are struggling to reach like benefit shoppers, people who are using SNAP or maybe WIC or Farmers Market Nutrition Program benefits, where can you try to like intersect with those daily lives? Where are they going? And you have some clues on the map here, but there might be other ones in your local area. Lots of stuff in the chat. I see it. Okay, yeah, lots of maps, stars where the manager booth is. And so, yeah, now if you think about kind of the community around it, somebody already mentioned different spots in the harbor where they put up posters, put up information. Thinking about the different businesses, the different stops that those shoppers make that you might be able to get in front of them or connect them to say, hey, you might not know this, but there's a place just around the corner from this spot. Yard signs around town have been helpful. Okay, I see that. Library, local coffee shops, love it. Yeah, because that's where people are going. That's where people are kind of spending their daily activities, their daily routine. And then the second question is not just the where, but the who. So on this map, you can actually see a food pantry is labeled. In my own work with farmers, especially those who are trying to reach benefits customers, I've actually found that local food assistance organizations, places where people pick up free food, are actually really encouraged and interested in sharing opportunities for those customers to work with local farmers, especially if they're maybe accepting those benefits because they go, oh, these are folks that would qualify for those, and I'm sure they'd love to spend them to buy the stuff that you know they just can't really source there. So a food pantry is kind of emergency food. It's not going to be able to provide everything that somebody needs, and often they're not able to really handle the perishable types of stuff. So sometimes it can feel like a perfect fit, and those food pantry managers, those volunteers, the people who are working or running these different places around town can be really good champions. They can be on your side. They're the ones who have that direct connection, that relationship of trust, who are seeing those shoppers and can kind of redirect them and remind them and say, you know, yeah, we don't really have that here today, but you know what? If you come back on Tuesday, there's a local farmer right around the corner. Here's some information. So they're just helping you get the word of mouth generated and going. I see a senior citizen center in the chat as well, giving a bunch of flyers to put in with the food boxes. Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So leveraging not just the where with kind of passive posters, but also the who, right? The people who are doing similar work or who are interested in making sure that everyone in the community has an opportunity to know what you're offering them. So those are really great. I love it. Thank you guys for like showing up in the chat. Lots of text here, but this is really just kind of recapping and giving you some more food for thought afterwards about what we've already talked about. So this big long list over here, just branching out that list a little bit more, you know, different agencies that might be interested, community action, faith-based organizations. Don't overlook the work that they do to try to connect people with food, hospitals, clinics, dentist offices, different kinds of folks that, you know, you can look up and see where those are. If you have a Head Start program, that's just around the corner from your farm. I worked with a farmer who had like an early childhood education center right around the corner from where she was setting up, and they were able to make a connection, try to get those families interested in coming out, do a getting ahead of myself, but like do some events and things together. So these are places to start. Yeah, just thought of daycare centers. Perfect. That's awesome. Handouts to doctor's office, pediatricians. That's amazing. Down at the very bottom, you see the Department of Agriculture, ag agents. Those might be some natural partners that farmers or markets think of already because you might be working with them for other things, but don't underestimate their ability to help you connect with shoppers as well. My state's Department of Agriculture runs a free statewide directory for farmers and markets to put themselves on it. So they may have different opportunities you can get involved in to get them on your side and connecting you with shoppers. And then on this right side, kind of a recap of what we've talked about: libraries, post offices. Where are there now? From now on, your assignment is anytime you're out and about around town, look for those community boards. Look for bulletin boards where you could post something. Look for, the little counter that has business cards and stuff. Where can you leave little notices that can maybe help lead people towards you? So think creatively, think about different places where you can intersect with people in their normal daily habits. And that might be different for nutrition benefits customers as well. So you kind of really try to think about where they might be showing up in the community. So also, oh, Chamber of Commerce, that's a great one too. And I'm saying it all because I don't know if the recording will see the chat, and these are great ideas too. Um, Also, when you're partnering, it's not just about, being that conduit for a flyer or being that, okay, can you just like get this static kind of word out? There's a farmer around the corner, but there may be opportunities with some of these partners to do some really creative things together, to go a little bit deeper, to maybe access pools of funding. So there's some examples on the screen here of, sometimes cities, state, local, county agencies, offices might want to do local promotion coupons and incentives. You can see about doing that, advocate for that. If it's happening in your area, educate yourself about that and make sure that farmers markets, those vendors can be included in where people can spend those kind of like local bucks that sometimes come out. You can partner with those senior centers or with schools and see if there's opportunities for field trips, opportunities for maybe doing a little special voucher, some way to kind of incentivize and help those folks make a connection with you. And then this last one, I love this example of the Farm Fresh Pharmacy Fit walking program. This is from farmers market in Tennessee, where I think they're partnering with maybe a local health system who's funding little tokens, $5 coupons for folks who walk this trail that you see kind of highlighted in red on that map. They walk that, they get the code off of a sign at the end of the trail. And when they come back to the market, they're able to get this $5 coupon to spend at the market. And so these are all examples of what you have to do with the partners, which is to find ways that your goals overlap. And so that's a great fit for that market and the health system where their goals are overlapping. The health system wants people to be active, to eat healthy. The market wants to attract new folks, make it an experience to come to the market, get people more excited about buying from local products and get experience tasting those and seeing the value that's there. So that's just a great overlap of goals, really tightly woven together. And so that's the thing to think about when, wanting to move a partner beyond just kind of, hey, can you pass these flyers out? Can you include that in this box? Or here's an event I'm doing. If you want to go a little bit deeper and maybe be on their radar if opportunities for a grant or for funding comes up, that's kind of the work that you want to do. What's your goals? Where are you going? What would you like to do? How can I partner with you on that? Here's what I'm looking to do. Here's what I can offer. So just having those conversations when you start to see that there's a potential to maybe do something a little bit deeper with some of those partners. Part of that conversation, not just about like understanding what the goals are, you might need to empower some of those partners with some more information, right? The facts of that, local food from farmers markets, CSAs, they can be for everyone. They don't necessarily have to be, prohibitively expensive. There can be kind of a stigma around that or an idea about that. But if you look at, peak season prices for certain things or opportunities to get seconds, or even, just regular prices, sometimes they can be really comparable with local grocery stores and other things. And also just fresher, lasting longer. You might have to do some work to kind of talk about how shopping local can really be beneficial for everybody else. And, with food costs rising, that's why we keep coming back to making sure that you're able to take SNAP or other nutrition benefits, because that sometimes can give you access to the doubling funding, whether through a local state program or through advocacy at the local level. I know some cities that set aside funding for their local farmers market or for local farmers to be able to access some funding to offer discounts to do doubling, kind of outside the statewide programs. So, trying to think on all levels, these partners can maybe be part of advocating for that or helping getting that going. And then, not just kind of let's make sure we're on the same page and we really feel that everyone can be a shopper with local food, but also giving those materials. So making sure that they understand what you offer through your farmer market, what payment types you can accept, where there are opportunities for people to come out for events, where you might be able to work with that partner to host a cooking demonstration or nutrition education. Again, if that's their goal and that's what you want for your shoppers to feel confident in buying your products, how can you build some ways to overlap? And the last bit might just be information on eligibility for actually enrolling in nutrition benefits. So even if you're an authorized point of sale where you can take that payment type, it might be worth starting to understand who in your state or area is the one who can actually enroll individuals to be able to receive those benefits and be able to put that out there, because that can sometimes be a stumbling block that comes up. People say, oh, well, people are maybe eligible, but they haven't actually enrolled. And how do we do that? So finding that information and sharing it among yourselves about, okay, if somebody's interested in enrolling in that, being able to have that form of payment to use at the market, here's where they need to go and get connected to do that. Couple of examples. I'm excited because we're turning the corner to where you're going to get to see lots of resources, lots of templates, lots of things that you can use. I always say that it's great to talk about all of these partnerships and opportunities. And I started a pop-up market when I was a farmer, and the thing that almost made it fall apart and almost made me want to cry was when they said, oh, well, you need to make a flyer for it. And I was like, I have tomatoes to prune. I have so many other things to do. I just can't even envision like sitting at my computer long enough to design a flyer for this thing. I just need it to kind of happen. And so we don't want you to be in that spot. If that, thumbs up, if that's ever been like a stumbling block for you, feel free to react if you've ever been there where that's the stumbling block. We've been there, right? We're busy. Farmers market managers are also busy. Farmers are growing the food. Market managers, you've got so many hats to wear. So we do have some examples here. These are template flyers actually that can be just filled in with your information and printed. You don't have to redesign it. So try to find resources like that might be local to you, or you could use the Mother Road Farmers Market, that main one with the tear-off strips. That's from Market Link. I love the tear-off strips because it also gives you a sense of, if those tear-off strips are going by really quickly, there's a lot of interest in that area. If you're having to replace it all the time, or if like none of those tear-off strips are disappearing, you can it gives you a little bit of feedback on how much engagement there is with those type of flyers. And how much interest there is in certain pockets of where you're putting them. The Want Fresh Local Food, that is a fillable template. It comes from a University of Maryland extension. So those QR codes, the local markets QR code is going to go to like a Maryland-based list. So that's a little bit wonky if you're not based out of Maryland, but at least it's a nice little template to kind of show you. You can adapt it however you like. I love that they are also including that section right there where you can show or say what payment types you can accept. And that's going to be a big theme of the second half of this. I'm going to talk a lot about how to let people know that because it's really important for how to connect with customers. But yeah, those are examples. You'll get links after this to access those, and there's some at the end of the presentation too. So all of these resources that we're showing, you'll get to see them. Another resource is through Market Link. Just an example of some of the stuff that I was talking about. This is a trifold folder, and it's got some of that, research has shown on average XYZ, it's got some of those talking points, some of that information that might be important to put out there. It's got images of the cards and the different nutrition benefits that people might be able to use. They're kind of in the center. It's just got some good facts and some good knowledge out there. And so there is, I think, an editable template of this. There's ways that you can take this information and kind of adapt it to your local needs. So that's kind of just another example of what I'm talking about. Might be something good to have in your back pocket working with folks. So little bit of a recap before we switch gears to the other side of things. Like I've said, you want to partner with community champions, people who already have a trusted relationship with the type of shoppers that you're having a difficult time connecting with. And on that same, meet the shoppers where they already are. Try to figure out, in their daily routine, in their daily life, where can you get in front of them? Can you connect? Where can you help them see that what you're offering is really following in line with what they've been looking for? And we didn't talk about this too much, but using your target audience's language can be really helpful. Making sure that the information that you're putting out there is understandable, digestible by the folks that you're trying to reach. And then that empower with knowledge slide as well. Just making sure that you're kind of debunking some of those myths, putting information out there, getting that in front of folks. Last slide of a lot of little bullet points. Are we ready? We've covered most of this, but this is just more food for thought, going deeper with those partners, really understanding the bird's eye view of what's going on in your community and what methods you can use to reach people. So like I mentioned, the local Department of Agriculture in my state runs a directory listing for farms. I know some local organizations that do community calendar listings that you can get on, press releases, radio, local TV broadcasts. Those are all kind of ways that you can get the word out in a way that might reach people that flyers or other things don't. Podcasts is a kind of a new thing, and I really like it. So my local extension office has the Garden Time, THYME, the Garden Time podcast. They feature lots of different topics. So if you're a farmer that's specifically trying to reach benefits folks or has gone through that process, there's a lot of curiosity about what it takes to be a farmer or a market that's reaching SNAP customers, that's doing WIC or other local benefits. What's the impact of that? What are you trying to do? So there could be opportunities. I'd look for, especially through universities, extension offices, departments of agriculture or marketing. They're starting to develop that channel, and I think they're always looking for guests, looking for local producers, people who want to talk about what they're doing, get the word out about what they're offering. And then we've kind of talked a little bit about flyers, postcards. I have done bus ads before. I got a $5,000 marketing grant through a Department of Agriculture several years ago, back when I was farming. So that's what I was talking about. There can sometimes be, pockets of money to be able to do things like this. And then, always sponsoring, donating at local events. I've worked with farmers who once a year will go to a local school that has a high farms rate population, children who are on free and reduced lunch, which means that their family is likely to qualify for SNAP and nutrition benefits and have those to spend. They go once a year, do a little pop-up at their fall festival, sell a little bit, get their word out, and then they connect with those customers so that they know that they're local all year to be able to spend those benefits with and get that kind of food with. The next thing that we're going to talk about, so we divided at the very beginning the outside the market, which is what we've been talking about. Now we're going to go to that point of sale based marketing and strategies for welcoming and informing customers. And so these are just a little preview of what we're going to go a little bit deeper into about thinking really multi-layered about how you're informing folks what you're doing. So I'll move on to that at the market, the point of sale design. Any questions? I feel like I've been talking rapidly and for a long time. So if there are any questions, I'll just give it a beat. If there's anything people want to jump in and say. Okay. We'll pause. All right, we'll keep going on it. So yeah, at the market, the other thing to consider, we've already kind of talked a little bit about signage, right? Welcoming signage at the market. The other thing that can sometimes get overlooked, especially if you're trying to reach, oh yeah, the links. Okay, perfect. We'll make sure you get the links to the flyers. You'll also get links to these signs that are on the screen here. So the We Welcome SNAP, that yellow sign is available for free download from the USDA. That's a great sign I've just printed it off on regular paper and laminated it before and had it at a point of sale. Other folks make it into a bigger sign. There are the Bienvenidos Clientes the Snap and EBT on the other side of the screen. That is from a kit of MarketLink developed resources. You can see it's formatted that it could be used on social media, but there's nothing to stop you from having it as a physical sign as well, printing that out. So just kind of think about different ways that you can make what you're doing, the time, the location, the payment types, especially because that's one that gets overlooked a lot, really obvious to folks, and not just during the the time of the point of sale is operating, like during the market time. I found it really useful when I was farming, that we put a grommeted banner on the fence. We had a fence there that we could put it on and keep it up all around the week. And people would say, "Oh, I saw the sign. I never knew that you could accept SNAP." And there was a sign that said, on Saturdays, and this is the time. So that really helped to activate the word of mouth. Um, kind of customer grapevine in the area, because they would say, "Oh yeah, I just saw it. They put a sign up. They could come by and verify it, even if it wasn't Saturday, so they could know for sure before they spent the time to commit to coming during the time we were going to be there selling." Um, yeah. So that can be really, really helpful. And right at the bottom, I mentioned, local and state agencies might have signs. I was just at a conference where a local Department of Ag Marketing office had some signs like this for free for farms to take and markets to put up. Um, I got that nice vinyl banner for free from another organization that had printed those and had those available for local producers. So it might be worth your time to keep an ear out, keep eyes out. The funding as well that came from a state Department of Agriculture, a grant came up that was fairly easy, right? It was kind of, here's my plan, here's how I spent, what I bought with that to market to folks. It wasn't a onerous kind of grant to get, but it really helped supercharge our visibility in the neighborhood. We got pop-up flags to put up during the market time, and then we had things on the fence outside the market time to kind of make sure that that was permanently advertising that, hey, you can get really good stuff here, and here's when you need to come by to get that. Um, Other signage, I wanted to just note, if you are a SNAP retailer, if you are participating in local or state programs like the Farmers Market Nutrition Program, just make sure, that you are displaying any signage that might be required by that program or by a different program. If things are grant funded, sometimes they want to have their logo, kind of displayed on stuff. When I printed those signs, I had to put the logo of the funder, that when I got that marketing grant. So just make sure that, your signage is all kind of lining up with any requirements that you might have. And there's a link to where you can find that SNAP retailer poster. The image here with the farmer, those are signs that are provided by that state's Farmers Market Nutrition Program. And that's just to make sure that people can identify, okay, you're participating in this program. I can spend this benefit with you. It's always going to look the same with all the different farmers or markets that are participating in that are taking that kind of payment. Just kind of helps eliminate some of that confusion. So it'd be really important to make sure you're doing that. So that's kind of been at the market level. I also want to highlight just, food for thought around the checkout point itself, whether it's at a booth at a farmer's market or a farm stand. If you're checking people out, making sure that it's really visible from a distance. Nobody likes to go and be like, clog up the line by trying to ask, do you take the specific card? So you want to make sure that that's really visible. Again, you can kind of see on the screen here that we welcome SNAP EBT customers. That's another beautiful example of, I didn't make those templates, so I can call them beautiful. Market link template, this SNAP EBT sign kind of down on the left part of the screen. That's the Maryland Independence card. That's what it looks like in Maryland. And they made these decals to be displayed at the point of sale, especially because you can see that Sunbucks card on the side. There can be a lot of confusion around, what do things look like? Can I take that payment? So it's worth taking the time to have that really displayed and prominent. Sunbucks, that white card on the side of that decal, is a summer EBT program. So it's for school children who are on free and reduced lunch. Along with a couple of other sticky qualifiers. But basically, it's a summer EBT program. If a family has SNAP, it would just be loaded on their regular SNAP card. But if they don't, they get this separate little card that in Maryland looks like this little white card. In other states, it might look slightly different. They all get to kind of produce their own cards. So I love that they have kind of put that together to say, we take this card or this other little white card. And on the farmer side of things, if you're a SNAP authorized retailer, you should be able to run that Sunbucks card in the exact same way that you would be able to run a SNAP card. They're kind of the same from a retailer point of view, but what you're pulling out of your wallet is going to look a little different. And so I love that they are, trying to make people aware of that and prevent any confusion about, oh, maybe I can't use this one, maybe I can. They're kind of eliminating that by having the sign really clear, having a picture of the card. So to that point, if you look at the right side of the screen, another participation point for you guys, I'm going to ask, you can kind of see those 6 cards. That's from a great resource by Museums for All. They've pulled together images from all the states' EBT cards because they look different in every state. So my question to you guys, you can give a thumbs up, you can put a yes in the chat. How many of you know what your state's SNAP or EBT card looks like? Know what that design looks like? I see a couple thumbs up. If you're from any of these 6 states, you're getting a kind of heads up. Oh, lots of thumbs up. Okay, great. So people know what they look like. Okay, second level of the question. Now, because SNAP authorization is a national authorization, it means that even if you are farming, selling in Maryland or in another state, you can accept the SNAP card from any other state. So if somebody's traveling from a different state, stops by and wants to spend that with you, you're allowed to do that. You don't need any other authorizations. So how many of you know what your neighboring states SNAP or EBT cards look like? Can I see that? Okay. More thumbs up. That's great. You've done the work. So if you have any doubt about any checkout staff at the market, anybody that helps you check customers out, having that same level of knowledge, it can be really good to use these tools to make sure that that image, that picture is front and center, that people know that they can use that with you, that they can check out. And I love the center picture here, credit and debit. A lot of, I've worked with some farmers who really can only take cash, so if you can take credit or debit, you just want to kind of get out in front of it, make that checkout process a lot easier, have a better flow there. And that's what the next section of this is all about. So more to the point on the point of sale changes, like that example I gave in the very beginning, the bare table, just kind of baskets of stuff. I didn't really know what those vegetables were. They weren't even really labeled. What are some ways that you can kind of get ahead of that and lower the stress of folks and make checkout more efficient? We really encourage using price signs, being really clear about that. And where possible, you can kind of see these different examples of using visual measurements. People might come and be like, well, I know I need this much for what I want to make with this, or using those visual measurements can help people match up how much they're getting for what price. And that can eliminate a lot of backup at the checkout where, I could look at an eggplant and even though I've farmed them, I might not be able to tell you if that eggplant is 1 or 2 or 2.5 pounds. And that can make a big difference when you get to the checkout and you multiply that by all the different items in their basket. So to avoid kind of having to be like, oh, well, I'm going to put that back, or I only had a certain amount of cash I wanted to spend, or I only have a certain amount on this benefit card, that can cause a little bit of a backlog. One way that can ease that is that, using these different strategies. So the little price card that you see on the right side of your screen, that's a free template that you can download as well. We'll have those resources at the end of the presentation. They have monolingual English, or this is a version that's English and Spanish, where you can kind of list that, have that posted. You can see examples in the little cartoon booth, or those radishes at the bottom where they're kind of doing it by visual, by those pint containers or quart containers, so you kind of know how much you're getting for how much cost. Or I love this cherry tomato example. If you do have to sell something by pound, maybe weighing out a 1 pound example, just so people have that visual in mind. They can kind of calculate on their end before they get to the checkout. That just, saves stress, saves time, makes that a little bit more smooth, and is kind of empowering your customers with really good information. So we do have some templates to help you get started on that if that's something you want to beef up in your own operation. And then the other thing to think about is just layout and flow. So I love that some of the market managers are talking about the market map as a whole. And I know we have some resources thinking about how to do that whole market flow efficiently. But at the booth level, at a farm stand level, you'll also want to think through that as well. So you can kind of see that example on the left, how the customers are kind of all shopping at the same time and then all kind of coming to that checkout point, and it can be a little bottle, can add to that bottleneck kind of feeling, be hard to kind of process people, and they're kind of just standing around in one spot waiting. Whereas on the other side, if you think about your flow, give them some signage and some directions, kind of enter here, check out here. That can help alleviate some of that and make it just a better experience for the customers and easier on the people checking them out. And we have, more resources about that. I love that we got that from the Berkshire Agricultural Ventures Workshop. So thank them for letting us use that image from there, and you'll have a link to their full presentation, that resource at the end. I mentioned checklist cheat sheets as well. I really sympathize with the checkout staff, who are, it's hot, people are busy, there's lots of stuff going on, lots of different things coming at you. So if you have a market, I always had a market go kit when I was, had a market day, a bin that had all the stuff in it I needed to set up. So having something like a checklist, this is a template. You can always change those questions out to be what's most helpful for you. But I love to see on here, can they see what payment options are? Can they easily identify who your farm is? Can they see all the products and what they cost? So those are kind of just some similar questions to what we've talked about already, just putting in that checklist form so that you're kind of hitting all those benchmarks that you want to make sure at the point of sale people are welcomed and informed. And on the other side, this is just a little template for, if you are taking a benefit payment, if you're doing something it's a little bit different or less frequently used, a cheat sheet to help whoever that person is at the checkout know, okay, this is what the card looks like. It's going to be a green apple card. That's what it's going to look like. Here's what people can buy with it. And then doing the work ahead of time when it's not market season, when it's not kind of crazy, to go through, okay, here's what you do. You open this up. It's going to be in the red bin. All of the instructions that they would need when that customer shows up with that card to check them out. And if you can, even just taking pictures, grabbing those pictures as those transactions are happening so that you can just have that visual for, okay, this is what the screen is going to look like, or this is what you're going to do next, or just give them any kind of grounding that they can and any kind of troubleshooting. Like if this happens, like it says it's denied or declined, then try this to fix it. You can redo it or you can go back to the further screen. Thinking through that all ahead of time is going to make it a little bit easier in the moment, and mean that you kind of are one and done. You do that, laminate it, and then whoever's there for checkout, even if somebody, your sister or family member is there to help you out one day, they're going to know what to do. They're going to be informed and ready for that customer when they show up. Okay, so we're here. We're wrapping up. I can't believe it. Okay, I've talked too fast, I feel like. So we're wrapping up. That's just a little taste. Again, the outside the market, the at the market. We know that there are other levels, right? There are other things that can make it difficult to connect with customers, make it difficult for customers who want to purchase local food to be able to do that. So I'll just leave you with one kind of food for thought. There might be other ways beyond what we've talked about that you might need to show up with partners, be part of advocating for more systemic solutions, because you can change your signs, you can, highlight what payment types you take, but there could be other barriers to people being able to access local food through your market or your farm stand. And so I'm not going to go deep into these because you're going to get this resource afterwards, but just kind of thinking about, transportation is the number one thing that I hear about being an obstacle to people getting to markets, to buying from local farmers. But there are people who are testing out solutions, who are kind of figuring out ways that's very locally based to get over that, to get through that, to help people make those connections. So, keep an eye out for people who are working in that in your local community. Be part of the solution, be somebody who's there ready to help them pilot something, ready to give that input. And these are just two examples from different places across the country where they're kind of trying to tackle that issue at the same time that you're working on all these other things. So like I promised, there's resources, there's links here. You'll get links afterwards. Don't worry, all the stuff that we showed you, you get to dive deeper and see what's going on there afterwards, more resources. And then I think I'm done and I'm gonna kick it back over to Brianna.
Yeah, can you go back to the first resources real quick? Okay, so on our website, I put the link for this. It's in the For Shoppers tab. If you scroll all the way down, each of those has its own Canva template. If you're new to using Canva templates, last week's New BU meetup was about using Canva. So that might be a helpful resource for you to take advantage of those templates. If you're looking for a template and you can't find it, you can always email me. I'm happy to work with you to help you create the marketing materials that you need, and then we can add them to this list for other people. And then if you can go to the next resource page, please. Also, Jocelyn, thank you so much. It was a great presentation. Um, these are some additional resources that Jocelyn didn't cover, but that we wanted to bring your attention to. And then in particular, there are some page numbers that are pertinent specifically to this topic of reaching new customers. So just want to bring, and I'll send these all in a follow-up email. And then what do we got next there, Jocelyn? Yeah, does anybody have any questions? I saw resources being shared. I'm glad you find those helpful, Erin. Um, can definitely empathize with Ashley's comment. I put 100% there, and I love Maria. Her suggestion about a pizza party. I think that that would be a great way for folks to learn together. Um, Ashley provided another resource that I really did appreciate too, and I kind of used that as a model when I was creating those flyers last year in the pilot program. But I can also include that link that Ashley included at 1:38 p.m. to the follow-up email. And then I think that's everything. Vanita said, you may have shared this before, but where can we find this recording afterwards? So I email these recordings out, and I'm working with our our marketing communications person to also put them on the website, to have links to YouTube links on our website, but right now they're not available on the website. So I will be emailing the recording afterwards, and when they're available on the website, I'll also let you know. If you've signed up for this, you are now on like the master list, so you'll receive emails about all upcoming meetings and also the calendar invites so that you can accept or decline them as it works for you. But then you'll also receive emails even if you don't attend with the recordings so that you have access to that information. Any advice for farmers who are authorized vendors but also selling at a farmer's market that is also authorized? Shoppers will get extra benefits, so wanted to make sure they know of all the options. Um,
Oh yeah, like if and you could yeah, you can unmute or put it in the chat, but they might get extra benefits if they go through the market because the market's like doing doubling funding or something, or they have like a different coupon or something that they can get, and you just kind of want to make sure that they're not like missing out on
Yeah.
extra purchasing power.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a
essentially they get like, let's say they want to spend, they say, I want to take $20 to spend at this market, and then they get the double up food box benefit. But if they also go to the farmer, there's a produce bonus that says if you spend another $20 with the farmer, you get $20 back on your card. So they could essentially get $40. Um, so it's like even bit bigger benefit, but it's two different areas where they can scan their card.
so you're
yeah. Oh yeah, I think that sounds a lot like the kind of work that you were doing, Brianna, the trifold brochure and stuff, like finding a way to create some kind of postcard or something that can explain that in a visual way, or maybe, and that might take a little bit of coordination with the market itself and with any vendors who are in that same position, to kind of have that posted or that information out there. Yeah, yeah, that's a little tricky. Were you going to say something, Brianna? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, in the same vein, I think it would behoove both the market manager and the farmer to work together on that because when you multiply the benefit for the shoppers, you increase the likelihood that more shoppers will be spending their money there and utilizing those benefits. So I guess my main advice would be to, yeah, I guess both create a helpful material and collaborate with the market manager. It does sound almost too good to be true. So having that in writing and then yeah, and distributing that or having that available to folks. Um, yeah, sounds like a good idea to me. Okay, I'm glad that you're saying thank you. I hope it's helpful. I'm happy to work with you to build something like that too. If you could if you want to set time to meet and we can develop something.
Yeah, and
Maybe you and the farmers market manager, we can get all of us on on a call and talk about the details or something. Go ahead, Jocelyn. Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say, and in the vein of kind of one and done solutions or something, if you can create kind of a little postcard sized visual that kind of explains that, um, you could use that same design to like print something, to have something laminated and posted at the point of sales, or to put on social media, you know. So if you can kind of create one design and, you know, thinking through how can I put this in all different channels to reach folks without having to redesign it, without having to redo it, that can maybe help make sure that that market manager is willing to spend their time on that because they can see how it's going to like be able to be used in all different ways. So no, it's a great situation.
Yeah, and does anybody else on the call currently, Tiffany's, response here? Does anyone else already have a practice in use for a similar situation? Yeah, I think Erin probably does, but I see she jumped off. But I can also follow up with some peers that might have a bit more information before you and I talk if you want to do that. Um, okay. And then just to wrap up, Jocelyn, can you go to the next slide? If you have any other questions, please feel free to jump in or put them in the chat. I just really wanted to briefly look ahead. This is our upcoming calendar. So our next meetup will be in April on the 14th. And the topic is incorporating other nutrition benefit programs into your farmer market. So that will cover FNMP, those double up bucks for folks that might be SNAP authorized. It seemed like a lot of you already are based on all this thumbs up of folks that are aware of what those cards look like. But if you want to expand to other nutrition benefit programs, that will be the topic. It will be recorded if you can't make it, and I will share it with you. And lastly, I think there's about 5 more spots for April 16th micro course on marketing farmers markets. If that's of interest to you, there are a couple spots left. That's a 2-hour credential course that kind of goes over some research behind drawing more people to market. So almost at 2 o'clock. If anybody has any other questions, please jump in. Otherwise, I think we could close it out. All right, and you can always email me or book time to meet with me here. Thanks again, Jocelyn, for the presentation. I know it's your busy season, so I really appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge with the group. And thank you all for attending. I'm so glad that you all can make it, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone.